Can you believe that after all these years, I just now learned how to upload videos to YouTube via my phone? Hey, better late than never. Hello everybody, this is Martin Zender. Early morning, Wednesday. I feel a little sprinkle of rain. I gotta go. I gotta hurry this up. But don't worry, I'm gonna get back to normal probably tomorrow. The good news is I worked with some techs from Apple yesterday via text, and my computer's back up. So that was a great relief. And the video that I made before I had the problems, I'm going to get that out to you tomorrow. That's my plan. I have to let my computer breathe. I had space issues. I talked with another fellow believer in Canada about my space issues. He helped me a lot. Talked to him for an hour and a half yesterday. Thank you, Leonard Dean. So I thank God for all of you. I love you. You've just, God, I like to think that, God just needs to nudge me, poke me a little bit, and it's like I'm aware more than ever of how fragile everything is. My computer, for starters, but my life. I'll never take for granted your love for me, that you watch these shows, that you encourage me so much and support me, and I just can't thank you enough. So these videos are necessarily short. Yesterday and today, necessarily short, because I'm uploading it on my phone. To the scriptures, Romans 1, verse 18. It is so interesting what Christians do with this verse, because this is the verse they use to prove that not hearing about Jesus is no excuse. Everybody asks, the people who believe in eternal torment, well, how can God eternally torment people who have never heard of him, who have never heard of Christ? The Christians say, oh, there's a way. Here's how God does it. Romans 1:18. For God's indignation is being revealed from heaven on all the irreverence and injustice of men who are retaining the truth in injustice. Because, verse 19, that which is known of God is apparent among them, for God manifests it to them. For his invisible attributes are described from the creation of the world, being apprehended by his achievements, besides his imperceptible power and divinity, for them to be defenseless. So the believers in eternal torment go to this verse, this pair of verses, to say, see, they're liable, they're responsible, they have heard. How have they heard? They recognize God's creation. They see the divinity of God through nature, through the stars, through the sun. So if they reject that, then they might as well have rejected Christ, even though they specifically haven't. And so God is obligated to eternally torment them. What they don't realize, and if you ever hear this excuse about those who haven't heard, they have no excuse. They can see the sun, they can see the stars, they can look at a tree. They have no excuse. To hell you go. Next time somebody pulls that on you, tell them this. Paul is using these verses to make people defenseless. Yes, those who haven't heard of Christ are defenseless. But he goes on to say that the religious people are also defenseless. Paul is using chapters 1 and 2 and the beginning of 3 in Romans to make everyone defenseless. Paul is condemning the entire world, every category of people. The religious people who think that this passage isn't about them, oh yes it is. Paul deals with them in chapter 2 because he starts talking about the Jews. And he says, lo, you are being denominated a Jew and are resting on the law, boasting in God. This is verse 17 of chapter 2. You know the will. You're testing what things are of consequence. And he goes on there, read it for yourself, verse 17 through 24. He talks about religious people being hypocrites, having a form of devoutness, denying the power, and really causing the rest of the world to hate God because of their hypocrisy. So the Christians are right in a way in that God is using, Paul is using this passage to decimate the people who look at the sun, look at the stars, look at the trees, and don't believe in God. But he's also using it to decimate the religious people. The truth is, this section of Romans silences the entire human race without exception, because only then, when the race of humanity is silenced, oh, Paul crescendos here. He crescendos. They somehow miss this in Romans 3, of course. There's no one righteous, no, not one. Romans 3:10. There it is. There's no one righteous, no, not one. Not the worldly man who only has the revelation of nature, not the religious person who has all the revelation in the world from God's word but misuses it, as the Christians do, uses it for their own desires, twists it to condemn other people, everybody except themselves. The crescendo here, Romans 3:10, there's no one righteous, no, not one. Paul does this to prepare everyone, to level everyone, for them to hear him announce the evangel in Romans 3:21. Yet now, apart from law, a righteousness of God is manifested, being attested by the law and the prophets, yet a righteousness of God through Jesus Christ's faith for all and on all who are believing. For there is no distinction, for all sinned and are wanting of the glory of God. So Paul's purpose here is to make everyone realize that they're helpless to save themselves. And then, when he's got everybody going, what do? He presents Christ. It's the faithfulness of Christ in going to the cross that will reconcile all things and all people to God, the worldly people and the religious people alike. And that's the shock. The religious people? Yeah, Jesus Christ died for religious people too. Ooh, that's the shock for me.